to Sunshine for hosting this timely topic and for my colleagues for providing such great context. My role today, I hope, is to just provide a little bit of perspective in terms of what we do at CRC and Sea Grant, sort of Sea Grant model, and a little bit about how we came to be involved in aquaculture and also some of the things we've been hearing. I'm definitely not going to be providing sort of an inventory of issues because, again, that's a whole different scope, but always happy to speak with folks in more detail. And with that, so the Coastal Resources Center is, again, right down the hall. We've been working on coastal policy in the U.S. and abroad for over 40 years, looking at different specific coastal issues that affect communities, livelihoods, and also we serve as the sort of outreach and extension arm of Rhode Island Sea Grant, so we're sort of linked at the hip, and we do that sort of work. Sea Grant provides a lot of research support, which we'll talk a little bit about coming up. But in our role as the Coastal Resources Center, we serve to be a neutral facilitator. So we serve very much to bring folks together to understand different science that's happening, to discuss in sort of a safe, open manner what issues they're seeing in their coastal community. So that's something that I just wanted to sort of impress upon you guys. We serve to convene stakeholders and talk in an open, transparent way and make sure to get that information out through listservs and websites. We do a lot of public presentations. And then again, as Sea Grant, we try to make, help inform policy. We don't set policy, we help inform coastal managers on how to do sound policy in a science-based way. So that's just a little bit of background. Some of the examples of work we've done is the Ocean Special Area Management Plan, which you might have heard of, which has resulted in the offshore wind turbines being constructed currently, and then this Shellfish Management Plan. So the Shellfish Management Plan was a 2-year effort. November last year, just about a year ago, we successfully wrote a plan, but as Janet Coit, the director of the Department of Environmental Management, likes to say, we set out to write a management plan, but we got a lot done along the way. And I think that that's very true. The management plan was, and as facilitators, we served to bring together a lot of different stakeholders, including the aquaculture community, the regulatory agencies, but also our wild harvest community, which includes commercial cohoggers, the mussel industry, the whelk industry, nonprofits and others, researchers, etc. So this was really a wonderful plan, and this is one of my favorite pictures of a cohogger who does clamming classes with our Link Chafee, last 2 years ago now, slurping down a clam. So we also did a lot of public events to bring awareness as to what the shellfish industries are doing. So I guess, in terms of aquaculture, some of the things, and I want to just sort of impress upon some of the early actions that happened in this plan with regard to aquaculture and how that really set a foundation for making collaborations, building partnerships that can trickle down into the future or serve in the future to really help solve tough issues. At the last panel, we talked, Bob and Dave talked a little bit about the Vibrio plan. Industry spearheaded that. It's rigorous. It protects the public health. It protects the industry. That was a really big success. Also, the agencies and the industry worked together to pull together a memorandum of understanding. Again, a lot of these things kind of get forgotten, but this memorandum of understanding between CRMC and DEM, two management agencies looking at shellfish, really clarified roles. It took out a lot of redundancies. It gave inspection authority to the Coastal Resources Management Council to look at aquaculture leases on an annual basis that actually resided with DEM. It did a lot for making management more effective, more efficient, and that also ends up helping the industry. So these are some of the things that happened, I think, just last week. There was some regulatory changes happened where the state agencies streamlined a lot of the regulations with regard to aquaculture, got rid of redundancies, made it easier to understand, and again, that helps industry and helps everybody. So those things, again, involved a lot of partnerships, a lot of collaboration with the aquaculture industry and also the wild harvest industry with the state agencies, and that serves as a really great base that we have now due to all the hard work by the industry and the agencies to sort of, okay, now we're a partnership, we've worked together before, we've had some successes, now we can start tackling tough issues as they arise. So really, as with any Industry, context is important. We talked a little bit about this, but in Rhode Island you have aquaculture that occurs in Narragansett Bay, and then you have aquaculture that occurs in the salt pond. So I just wanted to sort of bring that up as an example. Dave had a slide up there that out of roughly 213 total acres that are leased for aquaculture in the state, about 43% occurs in the salt ponds and the rest is in the bay. So with these environments, sort of broad environments, there's different practices happening in terms of how growers are deciding to cultivate their product. There's different historical context to these areas. There's different span of acreage differs. So just wanted to bring that up for you all in looking at stories to really seek out individual perspectives from these areas. So there's not sort of a blanket way of doing aquaculture. There's not a blanket sort of perspective from one community. So really each community, each pond, each area of the bay has different perspectives and historical experiences, and those really should be sought out in sort of understanding issues. And we can certainly talk about that a little bit more in the panel, but I think that that's just something to keep in mind. I think it's also important to recognize that you have different people, different perspectives, as with anything, certainly. Aquaculture is no different. There happens to be a great deal of folks interested in aquaculture in the state. You certainly have the industry itself and then the industry associations that exist to help support those industry interests. You have recreational interests. We live in an amazing place where there's lots of opportunities to play in the bay and in the ponds. So you have folks who go clamming, you have folks who go water skiing, boating, kayaking, all sorts of great things happening. You also have community associations, groups who live along the coastal salt ponds, along the bay, who see things in their view shed and who see activities, who might have a home that has been in the family for many generations. So that's a perspective, and a lot of folks gather in terms of associations by neighborhoods. That's a perspective, that's a stakeholder. Of course, your state and federal agencies, you have researchers, URI, Roger Williams, in particular, looking at aquaculture, and then you have the nonprofits like the Nature Conservancy, Save the Bay, who look more at shellfish restoration efforts. But all these folks have perspective, have validity, and what we do is serve to bring them to the table so that their concerns and experiences can be heard in a safe way. So something to keep in mind too. Also, I think different uses don't necessarily mean incompatible uses, don't mean competing uses, and I wanted to throw that out there. You have lots of things happening on our waterways. You have aquaculture itself, you have play, you have commercial activities, and then even sort of expansion of business models. This is a farm dinner out on Ninigret Pond that one grower is not really dappling with, is successfully doing. And this one I just wanted to sort of point out, this is on Ninigret Pond, and this is the lease here, and then you see a boat kind of cruising by, and it's just cut off of the picture, but there's a couple kayakers coming by. So there's multiple uses happening right there. They're not necessarily incompatible. What we have been finding is people feel that some of them might be and want to converse about this and want to talk about this in a policy setting. So that's something we hope to offer a forum to do that. Sea Grant, again, supports science in many ways, directly through funding science efforts. Currently underway, there's 3 projects up here. Sea Grant's very concerned about doing science that's real world, that's very relevant to what's happening, and also that can be integrated into the policy arena. So currently one particular project with regard to aquaculture is looking at recreational commercial uses. So they're actually going out and sort of doing an inventory or a map of different coastal activities and different uses in terms of commercial and recreational, and then taking it a next level deeper and looking at how people value those individual uses, with the hopes, again, that this can inform policymakers. And policymakers can say, okay, what's valued most, or at least just take that science perspective and incorporate it into the other broader set of tools that they use to manage. So what people value most and should be managed towards that a bit. And that's a URI researchers as well as some Department of Environmental Management collaborations happening there. And then the PI contact is up there too. Another project is looking at doing a survey-based approach. So they've mailed out about 1,500 surveys looking at perceptions, people's actual perceptions of aquaculture. So in a sense, their tolerance for different levels of aquaculture across different environments. What are people willing to accept in terms of how much aquaculture they see? And again, the thought is that those results will be sort of speaking towards social carrying capacity, and that can inform managers and to make more informed decisions. And then there's also a project looking at subaqueous soils, so the soils under below where the aquaculture, the oysters are growing, and what sort of effects that lease might have on those soils. Professor Fulweiler is going to talk about water quality, her water quality studies on aquaculture leases. So again, these are all perspectives that we hope to bring, to translate to the public and to folks and make relevant by bringing it into the policy arena. So, you know, a lot is being done. Again, research, a lot of industry is growing. There's a lot happening, and what I think a public process is really important. And as one of my favorite books says, author Sam Canner says that sometimes what appears to be chaos is a prelude to creativity, and that's true for any public process. In aquaculture, it's no different. Conflict means interest. Conflict means relevancy. It means people are engaged. It means what's being discussed is real. So we hope, again, to bring multiple perspectives to the table in this type of process. So at the request of our state partners, CRMC, we're delving a little bit deeper into understanding specifics of aquaculture. So remember, we had that shellfish management plan that looked at a lot of different aspects of the shellfishing industries, not just aquaculture. But now, over the summer, we've done a lot of one-on-one sort of scoping with individuals, town managers, harbor masters, the industry themselves, our state agency partners, et cetera, to understand sort of what are they seeing, what does this growth mean to them, what are some of their concerns, and how can we appropriately address those as a state. So that's something that we're in sort of mid-process of doing, and taking those perspectives and kind of convening a planning team to decide what to do next. So over this fall and winter, we're going to have some sort of roundtable discussions dealing with specific topics that came up most, namely understanding better what the policy process is around aquaculture. Dave showed that nice diagram at the end of his talk, presenting something like that in a very easy to understand way, so the public can see that there is a process to this. Looking at future growth and what that means, hearing communities' perspectives. I've heard a lot that people value their place. They've been there for not only their whole lives, but perhaps generations before them, and to make sure that that's something that is recognized as valuable in our state. So those are things we hope to do this fall, is have those types of sessions, information sessions and roundtable discussions, and also bring people onto farms. Meet your maker kind of thing, meet your grower, meet your maker. It's actually, that's Hope in Maine is a food incubator program, and they have a program called Meet Your Maker because people are making food. Anyhow, meet your grower, I guess, so that there's a connection between what the industry is doing and what people are eating and what's actually happening on the water. I think there is a great deal of misperceptions about what leases are and what the different types of aquaculture, ways in which aquaculture is convened. So you have oysters planted on the bottom, you have cages, you have various different arrangements that each grower can choose, depending on what they pick as a business model. So just to bring that to the public's eye a little bit better, inform folks about what the boundaries of the leases are. It doesn't mean stay out, absolutely no going through. It means you feel free to pass through. You're not going to get snagged up. You know, those kinds of things we are hearing are issues, and we'd like to make a public opportunity for the public to understand those types of things better. So, and that again is, we'll broadcast, we'll make sure to webcast these things and to have advertise them open and free to the public, and have this through our listservs distributed. Also, just to wrap up, we're really excited to be involved with a state effort, including the industry and CRMC, and Professor Dale Levitt at Roger Williams University, to formalize an aquaculture curriculum. So Dale Levitt at Roger Williams for many years has been doing a course for prospective aquaculture leasees, folks who want to get into the business. And this course is kind of a soup to nuts, how to be a grower, how to grow an oyster, doing a business plan, those types of things. So we would actually take it a step further and formalize that course, make an online version, and it would serve as a model for not just prospective Rhode Island growers, but across the region and even the nation. So that's a really exciting opportunity, and that's sort of paired with efforts by the industry to do some soft skill development courses as well. Again, those workshops I mentioned, those roundtables, will have a lot of opportunity to understand what the industry is all about and public concerns. And I think also the Sea Grant work is coming up to the last year of sort of a previously funded work, and so bringing that appropriately to the public, translating that science is something we'll be doing over the next year. So that I'm happy to answer some questions you might have. Yeah.
What's the timeline on the research in progress, the perceptions survey that you're doing, for instance?
Their last field season was this summer, so they're wrapping all that up in the next few months, really. It's a 2014 to 2016. Sea Grant does its research omnibus in 2-year chunks, so 14 to 16, and then we're going to have a 16 to 18, right, Meredith?
Mm-hmm.
Will be the next round of Sea Grant research, which there are some shellfish-related projects that will be funded for that. So yeah, I just actually sent a quick email to Professor Tracy Dalton on the perceptions work, and she said all the surveys are back and they're sort of compiling that data now. So I'm sure she'd be happy. If you give her a week, yeah.
Okay, 1 week.
Yeah. So well, maybe give her a month. Geez.
Yeah. So we didn't include